The Orlando Magic are not on the list of all-star returns. The pathway to Los Angeles. How did the Magic get there? Today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is December 31st, 2025. Happy New Year's Eve. My name is Philip Rossman-Ike. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com, credentialed member of the Orlando Magic media since the 2012 season. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, the path to the All-Star game. The Magic still have a very narrow path that can get one of their players on the All-Star team, and why that's unlikely. We're going to dive into some potential All-Star teams and the direction the Magic are going. We're going to get to that coming up here in just a moment. Plus, Jalen Suggs is questionable. Could Wednesday be the day? Look at all that coming up here in just a moment. First, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day. Every day you can make Locked On Magic even bigger part of your day by being one of our Orlando Magic dailies, one of our everydayers. That means you're listening 5 days a week. That means you're listening on the weekends. We do the weekend episodes. That means we are part of your normal podcast rotation. That means we are your first listen of the day. We want to thank you for making the Locked On Magic community, this growing community, so fantastic. It's all part of Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. On Monday, the NBA released the first returns of All-Star voting. Not a huge occasion, not the biggest thing in the world, not the thing that, we want to be super obsessive about. But we have the first list of where people stand in All-Star voting, at least from the fans. No huge surprises. The top five in each conference are all deserving All-Stars. So no crazy Zaza Pachulia or Andrew Wiggins years this year. We did not expect the Orlando Magic to have anyone on this list. That's just plain and simple. We did not expect the Magic to have Paolo Banchero or Franz Wagner on this list, even if they were playing as well as they should be playing, even if they were healthy. Just not part of the natural NBA zeitgeist. NBA Twitter is not real life. Paolo Banchero finished 5th in voting among forwards last year, despite only playing 5 games. So Paolo is quite popular. And I do think that, when he gets himself going, next year certainly feels like a year where he will make an impact. And I'll probably do the same episode I did last year, that this is the last year the Magic don't have an All-Star. Maybe that'll be true. Maybe that won't be. We'll find out. In the end, Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner are 19th and 20th in the entire Eastern Conference. Remember, you're voting this year regardless of position. So Paolo and Franz are 19th and 20th with less than 100,000 votes. That includes your 3-for-1 days and all that stuff. To say the least, that is disappointing, but not surprising. It's not crazy to say, we've talked so much about Paolo over the course of the last few weeks. Paolo is not playing like an All-Star. He's certainly not playing like he did when he was an All-Star in 2014. He's not playing like he did last year, when he would have been an All-Star if not for his oblique injury that took him out for most of the early parts of the season. Paolo right now is not playing like an All-Star. So let's not pretend that he is. He's averaging 19.9 points per game, 8.5 rebounds per game, 4.7 assists per game. Terrible efficiency. Like we dive enough into Paolo. Far more likely that if the Magic do get an All-Star this year, it will be Franz Wagner. But obviously Franz is out right now with the high left ankle sprain. He's missed the last 9 games. Probably not playing this week. Probably not going to play. If he does come back, it'll probably be late next week. I don't think he'll play in the back-to-back with Washington and Brooklyn. Maybe a chance that he plays against Philadelphia. Maybe a chance he plays against New Orleans. And then we get the Europe trip, the Berlin trip. I am sure he would love to play against Memphis in Berlin, but we will see. Franz, though, is averaging 22.7 points per game, which is down from 24.2 last year. And he's rebounded to shoot 36% from three. If you're looking for a candidate for the Magic to get a representative, it is Franz Wagner going for his first All-Star bid. And Franz will get to an All-Star game. It may not be this year, but it will happen. But again, just like Paolo, who missed 10 games, Franz Wagner, who's going to end up missing probably 12, 15 games at minimum at this point, just hasn't played enough to earn that. He's played 24 games so far this season. It's going to be tough. Desmond Bane should be on your list of potential Magic All-Stars as well. He's averaging 19.1 points per game, but shooting just 34.5% from three. That is a career low from three. Scoring average is in line with last year, so it's if he's a borderline All-Star, he's a borderline All-Star. To say the least, not exactly the strongest run of players for the All-Star game. And I did my list. I was like, okay, let me sit down and think this out. Who are the Eastern Conference All-Stars? Who are the players that I have on the East All-Stars? Now, I agree with the top five. I think all of the top five will be All-Stars this year. So Giannis, Tyrese Maxey, Jalen Brunson, Cade Cunningham, Donovan Mitchell. My reserves right now, my shoe-ins are Jaylen Brown, Karl Anthony Towns, Jalen Johnson. I think Jalen Duren of the Pistons gets in. I think, and then you're just kind of, who are those last three spots? And those last three spots are going to come down to pick three of Scotty Barnes, Norman Powell, Michael Porter Jr. Yes, Michael Porter Jr. Go look up his numbers. Look how good Brooklyn's playing right now. Franz Wagner, Pascal Siakam, and Josh Giddey, who today was just announced will miss at least, I think, two to 4 weeks. There's going to be injury replacements here. So still a chance for Franz to get in. But right now I have Franz as the second guy out on the East team. And that's certainly because of his injuries. Now, you might be thinking, well, the All-Star game's different this year, Philip, right? You're right. It is different this year. This year, they are splitting the teams into three different teams. So you have your starters. I think they're still guaranteed to start. But they're splitting the 24 All-Stars into three teams of 8. 2 U.S. teams and an international team. So I did the exercise too. I named some Western Conference All-Stars as well. And I came with these 8 for international. So I did name 8 international players to my All-Star team. And the 8 international players I got are Shea, Luka, Nikola Jokic, who will be hurt. We'll get to that. Giannis, Victor Wembanyama, Jamal Murray, Scotty Barnes. I fudged some things there. And Lauri Markkanen. Essentially what the NBA is going to do is it's international players or players with an international connection. So the reason why I slid Scotty Barnes, who I think will be an All-Star as well for Toronto, the reason why I slid Scotty Barnes is he plays for the Raptors. That's an international team. Good enough. Not important. I did have Karl Anthony Towns on the West team, so maybe Karl Anthony Towns jumps down there and you move Scotty Barnes to the second, to one of the U.S. teams. You get what I'm saying here. Essentially, like a pathway for Franz to get into the All-Star game is also as an injury replacement to an injured player. So I had Austin Reeves as an All-Star. So if Austin Reeves misses the All-Star game, then Scotty Barnes slides into his spot and you have an open international spot. Nikola Jokic will miss this game. So maybe you could slide Franz into that spot. Now, I think for international team players too, Franz is on the bubble. I think Alperen Şengün is ahead of him. So in each case, I have Franz as the second guy out for the Eastern Conference and the second guy out for the international players. And so again, there is a chance. I'm not going to sit here and say there isn't. But it's going to take a lot. The Magic ultimately do not have an All-Star this year. Like, it's crazy. I look back at what I wrote after last year's All-Star game when Paolo and Franz were clearly All-Star level players who just didn't play enough games. In order for Franz to make up ground, he has to come back and play at an All-Star level for the next 6 weeks because the coaches will vote at the end of January. And we know he's missing this week. We know he's missing next week. That gives him 4 weeks of potentially playing or coming back from a relatively major injury to convince the coaches that he is an All-Star. And maybe he can do it. Maybe he will do it. Franz is really good at basketball. But ultimately, there is one way the Magic are going to get a player on the All-Star team this year. And it is the one thing that they have to do. I'm going to explain that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before the games tip off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. From 6 to 7:30 Eastern on Fridays, it's appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. You can open the app, and there's always something new, a boost, a bonus, a surprise. And it happens right before the games and right before the weekend starts. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That is NBA Happy Hour, only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. We want to thank you for making Locked On Magic your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out our new Everydayer Club. If you want to get to the next level of Locked On listening, this is for you. You get access to an ad-free audio feed for Locked On Magic, compatible with all the major podcast apps. I know a lot of people ask me for that. And you get an invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server. In that Discord server, I drop some fun news and notes that I'm seeing around practice, or I will be once the Magic actually practice at home. I provide my 3 takeaways after each quarter. Great place to interact with me while I am watching the game. Although I will note I probably won't be super active on Wednesday since I will be at the Citrus Bowl watching the game as well. Go to LockedOnMagic.supercast.com. That's LockedOnMagic.supercast.com, or tap the link in the show notes to learn more and support the show in a new, exciting way. The Locked On Everydayer Club. It's your team every day. It is a long shot for the Magic to get an all-star. No beating around the bush with it. No sugarcoating it. The Magic don't have an all-star this year. Like last year, we could complain a little bit like, well, our guy was hurt. And maybe you could complain with that with Franz, and maybe that's fair. But the Magic do not have an all-star this year. They just don't. And it's going to take a lot of work to get one. Probably work that, frankly, they don't have enough time for. But there is a small window, a little way that the Magic could get there. The fans vote for the starters. The starters are a popularity contest, and I happen to agree with the likely 10 starters, or there'll be 12 this year, or there'll be 15 starters this year, but the 10 voted on starters, I have to agree with. I just simply have to agree with it. They're all worthy. They all deserve it. No complaints with what the fans have done through the first returns. There's no abnormalities. Even in the order, I don't think there's anything that crazy other than maybe Josh Hart being a little too high. The coaches vote for the reserves. And what is important for the coaches and who the coaches end up voting for is the coaches within each conference, because they're still picking teams based on conference for now. Another reason why getting Franz in will be difficult, because if Austin Reeves and Nikola Jokic are your 2 injured players, they're probably going to look to replace them with Western Conference players, just as a heads up. So again, Alperen Sengun certainly in. I don't know who would replace Austin Reeves. Maybe Devin Booker. Maybe James Harden. Maybe Kawhi Leonard. The coaches value something different. And obviously they know the players. They know who's good in the league. But coaches are less likely to put players on losing teams on the All-Star team than fans are. Coaches are more likely to look at the standings first as they fill out their ballots. And so the Magic have one clear path to put pressure on coaches to name one of them an all-star. And that's to win. That is quite simply to win, to be so undeniable that you have to recognize them. You have to respect them. Entering Wednesday's game against the Indiana Pacers, the Magic are 18-15. Hardly an impressive enough record to get that attention. They're tied for 5th in the East, a game and a half back of the Toronto Raptors for 4th. They're tied with the Miami Heat for 5th. They're 2 games behind the Boston Celtics for 3rd. Not an impossible task to catch them. They are a half game ahead of the Cleveland Cavaliers for 8th, with the Miami Heat there, with the Philadelphia 76ers there as well. To say the least, if the Magic can climb to 3rd or 4th by the time the coaches vote at the end of January, their chances for an all-star increase. Whether that's Franz, whether that's Paolo, whether that's Bane, maybe it could be Jalen Suggs. Coaches, if the Magic are 3rd when coaches vote, they're going to look at the standings and say, we've got to get a Magic player in there. We've got to get a Magic player in there. Like, they're just too good. They're playing so well right now. And the schedule heading into the All-Star, heading into the end of January when the coaches vote, not the All-Star game, we're not going that far. Heading into the end of January is favorable. We've been talking about this for a week now. The schedule is very, very favorable. The schedule is very, very favorable from this point through the Europe trip, essentially. The Magic play 9 of their next 14 games against teams with losing records, including the next 5. At Indiana, at Chicago, who's 15-17. Good team. Again, these aren't gimmies, but good team. At Indiana, at Chicago, home versus Indiana, at Washington, at Brooklyn. Those are your next 5. You should be saying the Magic should go at least 4-1. At least 3-2 in that stretch will be disappointing. 2-3 will be near disastrous. And despite the loss to the Charlotte Hornets on Friday, Orlando is still 8-4 against teams with records worse than 500. The 2 losses to the Hawks, the loss to the Bulls, and the loss to the Hornets. I don't believe I think the Warriors climbed over 500, so I think that loss was taken out of that group. Most of the Magic's losses to teams below 500 happened in the early parts of the season when the team was really bad. To say the least, yeah, I do expect the Magic to win 4 of the next 5 at minimum. Win the next 5 probably. And that's not even getting into, they play Philadelphia, who they've beaten already and have played well against. They play Philadelphia at home, New Orleans, then they head to Europe to play the 2 games against Memphis. They come home to play Charlotte. Again, Charlotte beat them on Friday. And then they play a home-and-home with Cleveland, who is struggling a ton, but Cleveland's a good team. That's not an easy game. And then they play Miami at Miami to close January. Yeah, not an easy game, but another team that is a little bit above 500. Very beatable team, especially if the Magic are healthy, because throughout the course of that, the Magic are expected to get Mo Wagner back. They're expected to get Jalen Suggs back, who we'll talk about in a minute. They're expected to get Franz Wagner back around that time. We've been saying it forever. Like, if you're going to be hurt, this is the time it's okay to be hurt, as long as you're picking up wins. And the Magic could very easily find themselves, and I said this before, the Magic need to end January comfortably in 4th. And I think they can. Like, Toronto's playing well. Again, that was a big loss of Toronto for that reason more than anything else. If the Magic win, if the Magic climb the standings, the coaches will reward them. And this is exactly what you want. The wins come first. The individual accolades come next. Again, the issue is that the Magic don't have one clear-cut guy. They don't have one guy that's just like, oh, that's the all-star. That's the guy we got to put in there. We can't have the all-star game without him. He's too important. Like, Franz is the obvious candidate for the Magic. If anybody on this Magic team is going to get voted in, it's Franz. This is Franz's year. But he's got to come back. He's got to be healthy to earn that. Because Jalen Johnson, even though the Hawks are struggling, he's a shoo-in. He's going to the all-star game. He's an all-star this year. But Norman Powell can easily tick him off. Pascal Siakam's had a great year. But he's on one of the worst teams in the league in the Indiana Pacers. Really hard to vote for a guy who's playing for a losing team. Like, Michael Porter Jr. has had a great year for Brooklyn. Brooklyn's on a losing team. If Franz Wagner comes back, plays well, and the Magic climb the standings, Franz Wagner will be an NBA All-Star this year. Obviously, there's a lot of ifs in there and a lot of conditions that need to be met first. The good news is then the Magic might be getting some good injury news at long last. Is Jalen Suggs set to return, and what his impact is? We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. During basketball season, there is nothing like being in the building. The energy, the crowd, that first big run that gets everyone on their feet. Fans want to be there for those moments, not stuck refreshing screens or guessing what tickets are really going to cost. That's where Game Time comes in. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage back, making it incredibly easy to score amazing tickets. Fast, simple, and without the guesswork. Browsing the Game Time app is straightforward and intuitive. Finding tickets takes just a few taps, and they have so many great events in your area, not just games, but theater, concerts, shows, everything. And seeing the view from your seat with a digital view of the stage, the court, the field, before buying makes choosing tickets easy and confident. There's zone deals to help unlock great seats at even better value too. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDON NBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today and get in on the action. The Orlando Magic have been waiting for good news. There's a tweet that got sent out by, I believe, by our friends over at Basketball Index. Let me make sure I got my sourcing correct here. So excuse me while I make sure I look this up correctly. Yeah, our friends at Basketball Index put out the NBA's best performing lineup so far. And they used padded net ratings, which allows them to compare lineups across all sample sizes to identify which are performing the best so far, is the way they describe it. I don't know completely what the math is, but that's their explanation. And embedded in their top 20 lineups this season are 3 lineups from the Orlando Magic. In fourth, I remember we said this all the time, among lineups that have played 100 minutes this season, the Orlando Magic's preferred starting lineup, Jalen Suggs, Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, Desmond Bane, Wendell Carter, that lineup is the 3rd best lineup in the league by net rating, by just straight net rating. In 250 minutes, or 250 possessions, the lineup of Jalen Suggs, Anthony Black, Franz Wagner, Tristan da Silva, and Goga Bitadze has a plus 37.72 net rating, plus 5.51 padded net rating, according to our friends at Basketball Index. That's 4th in the league. A little further down the list, number 9, that preferred starting lineup that's played 512 possessions together, a plus 18.4 net rating, a plus 5.1 padded net rating. Still a very good lineup. A little bit further down the list, number 19, Jalen Suggs, Anthony Black, Desmond Bane, Franz Wagner, Wendell Carter Jr., and 122 possessions, has a plus 4.3 padded net rating, plus 45.8 overall net rating. 2 things are common in all those lineups. One is Franz Wagner is in all of them. The other is Jalen Suggs is in all of them. And the other thing is that they just haven't played very many minutes together. So I swear to you, when I say this team needs to get healthy, and that fixes a lot of problems, this team needs to get healthy, and that fixes a lot of problems. For at least the short term then, getting Jalen Suggs back is going to be a huge godsend for the Orlando Magic. And so we have good news to report today. On the Orlando Magic's injury report for their 3 o'clock tip-off against the Indiana Pacers on New Year's Eve, Jalen Suggs has been upgraded to questionable. Typically, when the Magic do this, when they upgrade a player to questionable after they've been out or doubtful for a very, very long time, that typically means they're going to play. Now, again, questionable means questionable. I'm not sitting here saying, oh, go put Jalen Suggs in all your fan duels, all your prize picks. I don't know if he's going to play. I'm not on the trip. I'm here in Orlando. I'm going to be at the Citrus Bowl tomorrow or today. I don't know for sure that he's going to play. I know that when the Magic typically do this, it's either means he's going to play or he's very, very close to playing. Like, you don't just upgrade someone very suddenly without like a clear plan for him to play. So it may just be, we're going to see how he feels in the morning. We're going to see how he looks in his pregame slot. He's a true game time decision. We'll make a decision when we get there. Statistically, no player might have a bigger impact on this team than Jalen Suggs. Jalen Suggs, the Magic have a plus 9.6 net rating with Jalen Suggs on the floor. Plus 9.6 net rating. Jace Richardson is second at plus 5.5. Save your comments for later. Orlando is a 116.3 offensive rating, which is 1.4 points per 100 possessions better than their overall average, and a 106.8 defensive rating, which is 6.7 points per 100 possessions better than their overall average. Again, a plus 9.6 net rating. No player is better. In fact, Orlando is a minus 2.6 net rating with Suggs on the bench, a 112.7 offensive rating, and 115.3 defensive rating. Quite simply, getting Jalen Suggs back is like getting your breath back, is getting your heart back. There is just no player that impacts a game so clearly, that makes this team so much better. And for a team that's been struggling on defense for the last 2 weeks, that just hasn't played up to their standard, there's no player that embodies and lifts players up to the level of effort and standard that this team needs to play at more than Jalen Suggs. And while Suggs can be inconsistent on offense, I'm not going to sit here and say he's perfect. Getting him back and the level of chaos that he brings, the controlled chaos that he brings, the energy that he brings, it just makes the Magic so much better. He's another three-point shooting threat. He is such a dogged defender. You have you can't play with him and not try to match his energy. You're not going to. But he brings everybody up so much. And much like Orlando had that loss to Houston, and it felt like, okay, we got to play Paolo. We can't sit him any longer. We're struggling with things we can't struggle with. It's time. The Magic giving up all the offensive rebounds they gave up. The Magic getting outworked against Toronto. If you're protecting Suggs from something, and that's the reason he's sitting out, and I do suspect that the Magic, I've listed him as doubtful, not because of the hip, not necessarily because of the hip, but because they're just trying to heal up all the other minor injuries he might have. It's time. And the Magic need him so desperately. So again, I don't know if he's going to play. Maybe by the time you're listening to this, they'll have announced that he's going to play or not. But it finally feels like the Magic are becoming whole. It finally feels like the Magic are starting to get some of these guys back. It's going to start with Jalen Suggs. That's the first domino to fall. He was predictably the shortest term injury that the Magic had. And I think we all expected him back sooner than later. Mo Wagner got a shooting slot on Saturday's pregame against Denver. I don't know if he had a shooting slot, and a shooting slot just means it's your time to be on the court. Like if you go to the Kia Center, you see, Paolo doing warm-up shots, those warm-up shots, you don't usually get those unless you're pretty close. Unless you need the court time. You just kind of get your routine down. Mo Wagner getting a shooting slot pretty consistently, being on this trip even. He wasn't on the West Coast trip. Mo Wagner getting a shooting slot is a signal that he is getting closer. Perhaps all that's left is playing some 5-on-5 and feeling contact and seeing how he responds to that. Would not shock me. I don't think he'll come back on the road. Would not shock me if he's back Sunday against Indiana. Just frankly, it just wouldn't shock me completely. It would not shock me if he's back Friday against Philadelphia. Would not shock me if he is back by next weekend to play one of those games, especially if the Magic get some practice time in the middle. It'll be tough, but we'll see. Similarly, Franz Wagner is on this trip too. And while I think Franz is a little further away, again, that injury, I don't know what Shams was saying when he said that was a 2 to 4 week injury. That was high ankle sprains are 4 to 6 weeks. We are on week 3 right now. We are coming up on the window next week. And I do think Franz is very much possibly, I don't know where he's at, so maybe I'm purely speculating. But it does feel like we know Franz. He's a tank. Like he comes back on the shorter end of things, on the aggressive end of things. And so Sunday is 4 weeks since the injury. And I think we'll be on Franz watch. And again, we'll get some home games. We'll see if he does. Again, we'll watch when he has a shooting slot. We'll alert when he has a shooting slot. But I do think the Magic are going to start getting a little healthier now. And I swear, so many of the problems the Magic are facing get solved just by being healthy, just by getting some of these guys back and playing with them. But we'll see. We have to wait and see. And it starts, obviously, Wednesday against the Pacers. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. You, of course, find me on Twitter at @PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the places you download podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. You can check us out on YouTube as well. Just search for Locked On Magic. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, your Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, thank you for your support. Now that you're done making Locked On Magic your first listen of the day, go check out the Everydayer Club because it is built for you, for those of you that don't miss episodes and want more Locked On Magic in your life. Get Locked On Magic ad-free plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedonmagic.supercast.com. That's lockedonmagic.supercast.com to join the club today. For those of you on video, we're going to send you to the first ever 24/7 national NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen to NBA Game Night on Locked On NBA. Such a great show. Great recaps of every game, every single night. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. We'll be back again tomorrow to recap the Magic's game against the Indiana Pacers. I'm hoping to get that episode up before midnight. Like I said, I am at the Citrus Bowl tomorrow. It's a 3 o'clock tip. I'll be watching the Magic game while I'm watching the Citrus Bowl. I'll try to comment on that game, dual running commentary on that game as well, but I do have to pay attention to both games. We'll see. So I will be recording that when I get home. So I'm hoping to have that up before midnight. If I don't, have a very happy New Year, everybody. We'll be back again tomorrow. Until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.